The great hall of the Intergalactic Council buzzed with energy. Tall creatures with glowing eyes, scaled diplomats, and metallic beings all sat in their high-backed seats. This was the center of power in the galaxy, where planets came to speak, plead, and prove their worth. Today, Earth had its turn. A spotlight pointed to the center floor. In that beam of light stood one man, Ambassador Daniel Reeve. Human. Alone. Wearing a simple black suit among a sea of vibrant alien robes and armors. No guards, no advisors, no machines. Just him. The council speaker, a floating orb made of, plasma, hovered forward. Its voice echoed around the chamber. Earth has failed to meet the required standards for advanced species. Its history is filled with war, greed, and self-destruction. The council does not recognize Earth as a fit member of our union. Some aliens laughed. A deep, rumbling laugh from a six-eyed being shook the walls. A sharp-snouted diplomat clapped mockingly with its claws. Even the more neutral members didn't defend the human. Earth was always seen as a mistake, a backwater, world still crawling toward civilization. Reeve stood still. His face showed no emotion. He didn't flinch. He didn't speak. The speaker continued. Humanity was given a chance to present itself. This was your moment. Do you have anything to say in your defense? All eyes turned to the human. He looked up slowly. He scanned the room. Every eye, every antenna, every lens pointed at him. 1,000 silent stares. Then he turned. Without a word, Daniel Reeve walked away. One step, then another. Calm, measured, controlled. The council chamber fell silent. Even the ones who laughed before now stared in confusion. No anger, no protest, no begging, just a walkout. No one had ever done that before. Most pleaded for mercy. Others tried to impress. But this was different. The heavy doors opened at the back of the hall. Reeve stepped through. The doors closed behind him. A low whisper filled the chamber. What does it mean? Someone asked. Is it surrender? Another said. No, said an old, pale-skinned diplomat from the outer systems. Her voice was shaky. That wasn't surrender. That was a signal. At that moment, far away on Earth, deep beneath the surface of the planet, a screen lit up in a dark room. A machine blinked twice, then unlocked a secured channel. A message played on the screen. It was a short recording of Daniel Reeve, his voice steady. Phase 1 begins. No more masks. The machine responded with a sequence of beeps. Across the planet, in hidden bunkers and deep space stations, lights came on. Files that had been locked for over 100 years began to open. Programs named things like Project Echo, Silent Sky, and Genesis Code booted up. Satellites adjusted their positions. Signals changed frequency. The stars themselves seemed to shift. Back in the council chamber, confusion grew. Some members tried to joke, calling it a human trick. Others remained quiet, thinking. The floating speaker tried to regain control. Let it be known that Earth has left without protest. Their request for membership is denied. Still, no one clapped. No one laughed now. In a far corner of the chamber, an ambassador from a small insect-like race turned to his neighbor. Did you see his eyes? He wasn't afraid. He looked at us like we were the ones on trial. The neighbor nodded slowly. We may have made a mistake. Back aboard his transport ship, Reeve sat alone. The stars moved outside the window. He didn't touch the controls. The ship flew itself. He stared ahead, quiet. He reached into his jacket and pulled out a small device. He pressed one button. A map of the galaxy appeared. Bright points for each council member's homeworld. He zoomed in. Hidden red dots blinked near several of them. They were listening posts. Secret Earth outposts, built in silence. Reeve spoke into the ship's log. Observation phase. Complete. Council strength recorded. Intentions confirmed. Earth is not weak. Earth is patient. He looked up. They will learn. His eyes glowed, just slightly, before fading back to normal. Back on Earth, a child looked up at the sky. Her father stood beside her. "Dad?" she said. "Did we lose?" He smiled. "No," he said. He didn't speak, because he didn't need to. Far above them, a satellite adjusted its dish. A signal pulsed quietly through the dark. Not noise, not surrender. It was a countdown. And the galaxy had just heard the first tick. Far below the surface of Earth, under a mountain long forgotten, by maps something stirred. Inside a massive underground vault, machines hummed to life. Dust fell from the ceiling as lights blinked on one by one. Steel doors opened with a hiss. Robotic arms moved slowly, activating computers that hadn't been touched in over a century. Cold air rushed out of sealed containers marked with faded warnings. This was the archive protocol, and it had just begun. Elsewhere across the planet, in deserts beneath oceans and even inside the crust of the moon, other vaults opened at the exact same moment. All of them had been waiting for one signal. The signal Daniel Reeves sent when he walked out of the Intergalactic Council chamber without a word. No one on the council understood what it meant. But on Earth, everyone who was part of the hidden command chain understood perfectly. At the edge of a large underground control room, an old man in a gray coat stepped forward. His name was Director Halston, and he had been waiting for this day for 40 years. "Open Archive Level 5, he said. A nearby officer hesitated. "Are you sure, sir? That level hasn't been opened since—" "I'm sure," Halston replied. On the screen in front of them, files unlocked with loud clicks. One after another, ancient project names appeared. Names that had been hidden even from Earth's own public governments. Project Revenant, Project Oracle, Project Silence. These were never canceled, Halston said. They were just buried. Back in space, at a deep observation post just past Neptune's orbit, a lone satellite turned. Its lens shifted focus and began scanning outside the solar system. Alien transmissions that were once ignored were now captured and translated. Every voice, every message, every frequency from the Council was being recorded in real time. Inside the control room of that post, a young operator stared at the screen in shock. "They're panicking," she whispered. Messages from the Council members showed confusion. Some asked if Earth had left in peace. Others feared a secret weapon. A few demanded immediate action, but no one had a clear answer. That was exactly what Earth wanted. At the Intergalactic Council headquarters, 3 alien ambassadors met privately in a dark chamber. One of them, a tall creature with crystal skin, tapped its fingers nervously. "Why did he walk out without speaking?" it asked. "It was a threat," the second said, its voice low and sharp. "But a quiet one, the kind only dangerous species use." The third ambassador, older and slow-moving, nodded. Read the old reports. Humans once had advanced tech, long ago. Then they went silent. Too silent. Maybe they were hiding it all this time. Back on Earth, Reeves' ship landed in a hidden base in Antarctica. The wind howled outside, but inside the base the temperature was controlled. Reeves stepped off the ramp and walked through cold steel halls until he reached the command center. Officers and scientists stood and saluted him. He didn't ask for it. He just nodded and walked straight to the central screen. "Status?" he asked. A technician responded. "Archives opened worldwide. All dark projects online. Surveillance grid reconnected. Total council activity now 82% mapped." "Good," Reeves said. "What about the vault?" Everyone paused. The vault was Earth's most secret storage. No one alive had seen all of it. It contained things not even Earth's allies would understand. Things found during the early days of space exploration, not built by humans, but by something older, forgotten, dangerous. "It's stable," the technician said, "but if we open it, there's no going back." Reeves stared at the screen. Then he gave the command. "Prepare it." Elsewhere, in a forest in northern Canada, a young woman received a message on her old satellite phone. The screen flashed once. Phase 1 confirmed. Stand by for Phase 2. She looked up at the night sky, stars shining above. They finally did it, she whispered. Inside her home, she opened a box under the floorboards. It contained a strange piece of metal not from Earth. She placed it on the table. It lit up as soon as it touched air. The artifact had waited for years for this moment. Earth was no longer pretending. Back on the moon, an old rover powered on by itself. Its signal reached a long-lost facility hidden beneath the dust. Doors opened. Lights came on. Inside the council, some members demanded Earth be watched closely. "They are waking up," one ambassador said, "and we never truly knew how asleep they were." Another replied, "Maybe we should have let them in. Maybe mocking them was the real mistake." But it was too late. Earth wasn't asking for entry anymore. It was preparing to show what it had become, and the galaxy had just taken its first step into a future it was never ready for. In the deep silence of space far beyond the orbit of Pluto, strange ships moved without sound. They did not appear on regular star maps. They had no flags, no registration, no signal. They were black, smooth, and shaped like spears, long and sharp. These were not the ships shown to the Council. These were not part of Earth's official defense fleet. They were part of something else, the Black Box Fleet. Inside one of the ships, Captain Lyra checked the control panel. She wore no uniform, just a black suit with a symbol, a single red dot inside a white circle. No one knew what the symbol meant, unless they had clearance. "Cloak active," said her co-pilot. "Steady course. Begin drift," Lyra replied. The ship entered an asteroid field near Jupiter's orbit. It glided between rocks like a shadow, avoiding detection from any alien satellites. Across the galaxy, the Council believed Earth had only old-style military ships. Clunky. Visible. Predictable. But Earth had been building these ships in silence for decades, with parts mined from secret moons, with materials found on derelict alien wrecks, and with technology Earth had never shown anyone, not even its closest allies. The fleet was controlled from a place called Station Null. It wasn't on any map. It floated in the dark between stars with no heat, no signal. It was invisible. Inside Station Null, Commander Voss stood in front of a large digital board. Hundreds of dots glowed, each one a black box ship. "They're in position," his officer said, "awaiting your order." Voss nodded slowly. "Don't engage. Just watch." He turned to the screen showing alien movement. Several Council scout ships had been flying near Earth's system, trying to observe human activity since Reeves' walkout. One scout entered the asteroid field near Mars. It never came out. The Council called it a technical error. They said the ship's data feed had failed. But inside Station Null, the truth was known. A black box ship had scanned the scout from over 100,000 kilometers away. It had used a pulse weapon that fried the scout systems without even touching it. No damage, no death, just silence. Earth didn't want to be seen as a killer. It wanted to be seen as something worse. A ghost, a shadow, something no one could predict. In the Council's war chamber, tension grew. "This is the second scout ship to vanish," said one ambassador. "Humans say nothing, but they're watching. And now they're hiding things," said another. "Their fleet is supposed to be small," argued one voice. "They showed us everything 50 years ago. They showed us what they wanted us to see." One ambassador, a creature made of vines and glass, whispered, "We laughed when the human walked out, but maybe." That silence was louder than any threat. Back on Earth, Reeves stood inside the Arctic base. He looked at a large wall covered with live satellite feeds. One screen showed the path of the Black Box Fleet. Another showed the Council's ships approaching the edge of the solar system. "They're testing us," said General Yi, one of Earth's top defense leaders. "They'll push until they find weakness," Reeve replied. "But they won't find any?" Reeve smiled faintly. "No, just more silence." Elsewhere, on a quiet moon orbiting Neptune, A council surveillance drone sent back its final message. The last image it captured before going dark was nothing. Just stars, then static. The drone had never been touched. But something had stared back through the stars, and it had stared harder. Captain Lyra's ship, hidden near the drone, recorded everything. She tapped a button and the data uploaded to Station Null instantly through a quantum link. Commander Voss reviewed the footage. "They know we're out here," said an officer. "No," Voss said. "They only suspect, and that's more powerful." Back in the council hall, fear had begun to replace mockery. "What if Earth built these ships without us knowing?" a nervous voice asked. "They had no resources." "They had no need to show us anything," another interrupted. "They've been quiet too long. No war, no expansion. That's not peace. That's planning." One elder ambassador, who had lived through 10 galactic wars, spoke slowly. "I've seen this before, not with humans, but with predators. The quiet ones. The still ones. The ones who wait." He looked up. "We may be looking at something we can't fight." On Earth, the signal for Phase 2 had not yet been given. The black box fleet still waited, still watched. But around the galaxy, a new feeling was spreading. Not fear of humans, fear of what humans were becoming. They had stepped away from the council, not in anger, but in control. And control was more terrifying than any weapon. A light blinked red inside Earth's hidden command center deep under the Atlantic Ocean. Phase 2 was ready. Daniel Reeves stood at the center of the round room, surrounded by large glass panels. On them, hundreds of data streams moved. Fleet positions, alien broadcasts, planetary scans. He raised his hand. "Open communication tunnel, secure, level Omega." A technician nodded. "Linking now." The room dimmed. Then a new screen turned on, showing a dark chamber lit only by blue light. Inside, 5 people sat in silence, their faces half covered by shadows. This was the Quiet Council, a secret human group unknown even to most world leaders. They weren't politicians. They weren't generals. They were watchers, planners, chosen by past generations for one job: to make sure Earth would never be under another species' control. "Daniel," the figure in the center said. Her voice was calm but sharp. "Report." Reeve didn't blink. "Council reaction is uncertain. They've seen our silence as threat, not weakness. They've lost 2 scouts. Our fleet remains undetected. Phase 1 complete. Requesting permission to proceed." The woman leaned forward slightly. "Has the vault opened?" Reeve nodded. "Level 3 is active. Level 4 is locked for now. Artifacts are stable." The other figures said nothing. One of them finally spoke, voice filtered and robotic. "Begin soft push. Let them see part of the truth." "Understood," Reeve replied. The screen went dark. Back in the Intergalactic Council headquarters, panic was growing. 2 more scout ships had vanished, one near Saturn, another just outside. Earth's moon, still no response from the humans, no messages, no warnings, just silence. In one of the council's side rooms, 3 high-level ambassadors held a private meeting. One of them, a being with glowing orange skin, slammed its hand on the table. "This is not normal. This is not primitive behavior." "They're hiding weapons," another hissed. "No," said the third, an ancient species with a voice like wind. "They're hiding intent. That is worse." Back on Earth, in a secret facility under the Sahara Desert, a chamber opened that had been sealed for 120 years. Inside was a black cube, floating in the air, untouched by gravity. Scientists and soldiers stood behind a shield wall monitoring the object. Dr. Amina Noor, the lead scientist, typed in the final access code. The cube turned slowly, then began to glow faintly. "It's responding," she whispered. The cube wasn't made by humans. It was found deep inside an asteroid that had drifted into Earth's system over 100 years ago. Every test failed. Every scan returned nothing. Until now, a voice came from the cube. Not a voice humans could hear with ears, but one that entered their minds. "You are not prey." Everyone froze. Dr. Noor stared. "Did it speak?" The cube pulsed again. You are hidden teeth. Elsewhere in orbit around Earth, a group of satellites repositioned themselves. Their signals changed. For decades, they had operated as weather monitors. In truth, they were Phase 2 triggers. They sent signals toward the stars. Not messages, but reflections. Ghost signals, designed to confuse alien scanners to make Earth seem smaller, weaker, older. Now, they stopped. For the first time in nearly 100 years, Earth allowed its true energy output to be seen. From the farthest Council observatories, this was noticed. One operator gasped as their screen lit up. Earth's power levels just jumped, 10 times higher than before. The readings were impossible. Artificial gravity fields, energy spikes near Saturn, moon-based emitters. Earth had tech, advanced tech, and none of it was ever shared with the Council. Inside the war chamber, alarms rang. "They've been lying," shouted one ambassador. "No," said another slowly. "We just never looked close enough." Back at the Arctic base, General Yi looked at the screen. "They know we're advanced now, no more shadows." Reeve nodded. "Phase 3 will be ready soon." Yi stepped closer. "Do you think they'll attack?" Reeve didn't answer right away. He stared at the stars outside. "If they do," he said finally, "they'll find out why Earth went quiet in the first place." At that moment, a Council fleet of 5 ships approached Earth's solar system. Big, loud, armed with weapons designed to intimidate young civilizations. They stopped just past Neptune. Their captain, a tall, armored creature named Vector, opened a transmission toward Earth. "Planet Earth," he said. "Explain your aggression. Explain your hidden technology. You are still under review. This behavior breaks every rule of Council law." The message reached Earth. Reeve watched it. Then he responded with one line. "You were never our judges." He cut the signal. The Council, ships received the reply. Then their screens flickered. One by one, each ship's data system crashed for exactly 12 seconds. Lights blinked, weapons shut down, navigation failed. Then everything came back. The message was clear. Earth didn't need to attack. Earth could turn them off. A whisper spread through Council channels. A warning passed from world to world, faster than light. The humans never stopped evolving. They just stopped talking. And now, they were speaking again. Far beyond Earth's orbit, the Council fleet floated in cold space, silent and still. The systems had restarted. Lights were back, engines were active, but nothing felt normal anymore. Captain Vector stood at the center of his flagship, eyes locked on the main screen. It showed a simple message from Earth, still glowing red. "You were never our judges." His crew worked in quiet panic. Some tried to scan for weapons. Others searched for viruses in the ship's systems. No alarms had gone off. No shots had been fired. Yet all 5 Council warships had been completely shut down for 12 seconds. It was like Earth had reached inside. How did they do that? Vector whispered. No one had an answer. Back on Earth, Daniel Reeve walked into a black-walled chamber beneath the Pacific Ocean base. The door behind him hissed shut. Inside the room stood an object wrapped in protective light, shaped like a long blade made of shifting metal. It didn't reflect light. It bent it. Reeve approached the object and raised his hand. The blade slowly lifted from its stand and hovered. Dr. Noor's voice came through the speakers. "The artifact from Vault 7 is now fully active. Neural response confirmed." Reeve nodded. "Has it chosen?" "Not yet," she said. "But it's aware." He looked at the blade, half machine, half living material, found inside a dead starship buried under Europa's ice. Humans had tried to understand it for decades, failed, until recently. The blade began to glow as Reeve stepped closer. Meanwhile, across Earth, Phase 3 had started. At the ruins of an old research facility in the Amazon jungle, hidden towers extended from the ground. Each tower released a signal into the sky, coded, silent, invisible to normal scanners. At the same time, deep in the Pacific, Something ancient moved. A station built inside a trench 5 miles below the sea came online. Operators in pressure. Suits activated, consoles untouched for 50 years. The station was built for one reason: planetary defense grid Alpha. Massive structures under Earth's crust began to shift. Parts of the planet humans never touched before, volcanic tunnels, magnetic layers, even tectonic nodes, started changing. Earth was waking up from the inside. The Quiet Council watched from their hidden command satellite orbiting Mars. They saw the Council fleet. They saw the slow, careful actions of Reeve and his teams. One of the members spoke. "We are past diplomacy now." Another said, "And not yet at war." The leader, cold, calm, answered, "Then let's give them a third option: doubt." Elsewhere, in Council territory, fear grew. Whispers spread through the alien networks. A common phrase had taken root. Earth was quiet because it was counting. In a Council data center on a planet called Delar Prime, an analyst opened a file buried in their oldest archives. It was from 142 years ago. A first contact probe sent to Earth, one that never returned. The last image it sent was blurry, but showed something strange. Human children, standing around a machine that wasn't built by humans. The analyst enlarged the photo and froze. The shape of the object matched one of the hidden blueprints Earth had used for its new stealth fleet. "How long have they had this?" the analyst whispered. In the Council hall, meetings turned to emergency sessions. Some members demanded a blockade. Others wanted to pull back and observe. Only a few voices stayed calm. One of them was Elder Maten, a being of pure sound, who had seen 4 major species rise and fall. "We should have listened," Maten said, "when humans stopped asking for help, when they stopped trading, when they said nothing and simply smiled." Another ambassador shouted, "You speak like they are gods." Mahaten replied gently, "No, I speak like someone who hears a storm before the thunder." Back on the Council fleet, Captain Vector received a new transmission. No code, no name. Just an image. It was of Earth, but not from orbit, from inside, from underground. Somehow, Earth had sent them a full scan of its own planet, showing hidden tunnels, energy lines, machinery far below the crust. It was not a threat. It was a reminder. "You are being watched too." Captain Vector turned to his second-in-command. "Do you think they want war?" he asked. His officer shook his head. "I think they're showing us how small we really are." At that moment on Earth's moon, a facility came online. It had no crew, no lights, no sound. Just one beam of pure white light that shot upward, piercing space-time. Council sensors picked it up instantly. "What is that?" cried one technician. His commander stared in disbelief. "It's a jump gate. Not outbound, but inbound." One of the Council members whispered, "Who are they inviting?" On Earth, Reeve stood by the artifact blade. It floated beside him now, pulsing slowly. He turned to General Yi. "They'll come. The ones we never showed them." Yi looked shocked. "We're calling the Ancient Ones?" Reeve answered, "No. We're calling the ones who built the Council and left." Yi stepped back. "You think they'll respond?" Reeve smiled. "They never stopped watching us either." And far across the galaxy, something woke up. Somewhere, between galaxies in the deep void where light dies, a signal reached a place forgotten by time. It was a ripple through space. Not sound, not radio, but something deeper, something alive. The silence broke. An eye opened. Not a real eye. Not flesh, but something older. Something that had seen stars be born and crushed. It turned toward the direction of the signal. Earth. Back in the Council chambers, panic became chaos. New readings had arrived. A gate has opened on Earth's moon. "We detect gravitational waves like something massive is preparing to travel." "Who are they calling?" Ambassadors yelled. Holograms flickered. Some screamed for war. Others demanded surrender. Only one stayed still. Elder Mahten, he. whispered a word no one wanted to hear. Progenitors. The chamber went silent. That word was old. So old it was almost myth. The progenitors were the ones who built the first star paths, who helped the first races walk among the stars. Then, they vanished. Some believed they had died. Others believed they had ascended. But now, they're coming back? One voice asked. Martin didn't answer, because deep inside, he knew the truth. They never left. They just waited for someone worthy. And maybe it was the humans. Back, on Earth in Station Null, Commander Voss watched the gate open. His team worked in silence. Every screen showed the same thing: unknown signals, rising energy levels, deep space echoes. A technician whispered, "Sir, we are receiving return data. It's not alien." Voss turned. "Then what is it?" "It's human," the tech replied. "Ancient, but human." Everyone froze. Meanwhile, in the Pacific base, Daniel Reeves stood in the Hall of Echoes. The artifact blade floated beside him, humming softly. Dr. Noor's voice came through. "The signal from the moon is stable. The portal is active. We don't know what's on the other side." Reeves spoke calmly. "We don't need to. We were never calling for help." She hesitated. "Then what?" He looked up at the ceiling, as if seeing through the planet. "We were calling them home." On the moon, the gate flashed. A beam of golden light burst out, not a weapon. A doorway. From the other side, a shape began to form. Not metal, not organic. Something in between. It stepped forward. It looked human, but not quite. Taller, cleaner, glowing with quiet power. The figure stood still, then raised one hand, and spoke in perfect English. "You did well." Back in Council space, the 5 warships watching Earth picked up the signal too. They zoomed in on the moon, saw the gate, saw the being, and they panicked. Captain Vector shouted, "Get us out. Of here, now!" But it was too late. The being on the moon raised its hand again, and suddenly, every Council ship stopped. Time slowed. Systems froze. Inside the flagship, everything turned gray. No one moved, only the lights of Earth still blinked. Then, just as fast, everything restarted. A message appeared on their screens. It said, "You watched us, you judged us, now you listen." And a second message followed. "The species you laughed at carried our spark. They passed the test. You did not." Back on Earth, Dr. Noor stood beside General Yi. She whispered, "That being, it's not alien." Yi nodded. "It's one of the first. One of the true makers." Reeve walked into the room. "They gave us knowledge long ago," he said. "In pieces, buried, hidden. They wanted to see if we'd grow or destroy ourselves." "And we passed?" Noor asked. "We passed in silence," Reeve said. "We passed by choosing not to conquer, not to shout, just to prepare." He looked up at the screen showing the being on the moon. "They gave others a chance too. The Council was one of them." Yi frowned. "But they failed." Reeve nodded. "Because they forgot what it means to wonder, to respect, to listen." All across the galaxy, Council systems were failing. Satellites crashed. Weapons turned cold. Fleets stalled. The first had returned, and they were not angry. They were disappointed. The Council wasn't being punished. It was being removed. Across human space, the Quiet Council watched the signals change. One of them finally spoke. "Do we speak now?" Their leader shook her head. "No, not yet. Let them understand what we already did." She turned to the others. "We were never building weapons. We were building trust. With each other. With the future. With them." A new signal appeared in Earth's sky. It was a map, a star path, leading far beyond known space. It was not a road to war. It was a road to invitation. The progenitors had come not to save Earth, but to welcome it. For the first time, Earth was no longer alone. It had been watched, tested, and now chosen, and the galaxy would never be the same again. The stars were quiet, but the silence had changed. Before, it was filled with doubt. Now it held something heavier: respect. Earth no longer stood at the bottom of the ladder. It stood at the doorway of something bigger than anyone had imagined. Ondiu. The moon, the progenitor being raised its hand once more. Behind it, the gateway pulsed with light, each wave showing a new world, a new sky, a corridor of stars only a few had ever walked. Then the figure turned to the camera feeds. Its voice echoed through every ship, every station, every world. "You are ready." Back in Earth's command center, Daniel Reeve took a deep breath. Around him, generals, scientists, and quiet watchers listened. The quiet council connected through every screen, all eyes on him. Dr. Amina Noor spoke first. "We're ready to follow, but are we ready to leave?" Reeve didn't answer right away. Instead, he walked to the central console. Run projection, history of contact. The wall lit up. Images played of human fear during first contact, of mockery from the council, of stolen artifacts, of quiet choices, and then came Earth's long silence. "Sometimes," Reeve said softly, "the loudest answer is no answer at all." He turned back to them. "We stayed quiet not because we were weak, but because we were watching them, just like they watched us." The leader of the quiet council nodded. "And we saw enough." Reeve faced the main screen. "Then it's time." On, his signal. Earth sent its first true transmission in 73 years. Not a warning, not a threat, just 2 words, broadcast in every known language. "We remember." The progenitor nodded, as if that message was all it needed to hear. It stepped aside. The portal opened wider. Inside it, countless lights moved. Ships? Beings? Cities? It wasn't clear. What was clear? It was an invitation. Across council space, chaos broke down into quiet. The council systems were slowly returning, but not fully. Their authority had cracked. Whole species were now asking a new question. Should we follow Earth? Captain Vector sat alone in his flagship. He watched the moon, watched the figure, watched the gate. His second-in-command stood nearby. "Sir, our people are asking what comes next." Vector said nothing for a long moment. Then he stood. "Tell them this," he said. "We were first to space, but we never understood it. The humans were last, but they prepared for it." The officer nodded. "Will they conquer?" Vector smiled a little. "No, they already did, but with patience." On Earth, as the final preparations began, the humans did something unexpected. They didn't rush into the portal. They didn't send armies. They sent one ship. It was small, quiet, crew of 7. A diplomat, a historian, an engineer, a child, a philosopher, and an AI. Each carried part of what it meant to be human, not just power, but memory, hope, pain, and imagination. As the ship entered the gate, Earth watched in silence. No cheering, no fireworks, just held breath. On the other side, the progenitors waited. They stood not as rulers, but as teachers. And in that meeting, something changed, not just for Earth, but for every species that had ever looked up at the stars and wondered what waited beyond. For centuries, the Council had built walls around that wonder. Now the walls were gone, and far, far away, in a chamber that no one remembered, a signal pulsed for the first time in 1,000,000 years. It read, "Seed accepted. Phase, unity." Meanwhile, the Council fell into silence of its own. Not from fear, but from understanding. Elder Motten, who had once warned them, spoke to the remains of the Council. "You laughed," he said, "but they didn't shout back. They learned. They built. They earned what you tried to deny them." Anaor, Ambassador whispered. "What do we do now?" Motten looked up at the sky. "Now, we follow." Back on Earth, the Quiet Council disbanded itself. Their mission was complete. They had guided humanity through silence, through tests, through deception and patience. They passed the torch to the world, to the people. And as Earth's night sky changed, with new stars, new shapes, new possibilities, the people of Earth looked up again, not with fear, but with the same fire that had brought them from caves to cosmos. Somewhere in a quiet classroom, a child pointed to the moon. That's where they left. Her teacher smiled. Yes, but it's also where they began. Because the real power of Earth was never in its weapons, not in its secrets. It was in its silence, and what it meant. When Earth walked out of the council chamber, it didn't walk away in anger. It walked forward, toward something greater, and the galaxy would never forget. The day the humans stood up without a word, and the stars finally listened,